some key tips for you. I really want you to get excited when you're delivering an elevator pitch. I want your heart rate to go up. I want you to be smiling, because when you're delivering in a high energy mode, then people will absorb your passion. They'll get enthused by your enthusiasm. They'll get to love and embrace and enjoy what you're doing. You know the story. You've met up with somebody at a networking event, at a business meeting, at a college or a university, and they've come across and it's, hi, my name's Mike and I'm really dull. And this is my job title and I'm not very interesting. You just feel your energy zapping and disappearing from the way they're talking to you. So I'm not saying you have to psych yourself up and slap yourself around the face, but mentally, sometimes we do, because your enthusiasm is the passion and the excitement that will engage others. And don't forget, you've only got 30 to 60 seconds to do this. It's not even 200 words of prose. It's a very short amount of time. So by reflecting the body language and everything else you're doing there, that's going to have a massive impact for you. Taking that a step further, one size doesn't fit all. What do I mean by that? There are going to be various situations, scenarios, meetings, events, whatever it is that you go to. You cannot have just one elevator pitch. So I'm talking about quite a lot of work you're going to have to create here as a result of watching this program. It's not one size. You can't just work on having this one, I'm a genius, I'm very, very clever, and you want to talk to me. Because A, that will alienate more than a few people, but the other side of it is you've got to have it different for different scenarios. You will walk into a room in a situation, you will prejudge somebody you meet. Some of them will get excited by you, others you see them and you think, I can't see me introducing my worst enemy to this person. So there's no point in me even trying to. So you'll use a totally different energizer, a totally different pitch, just to hook them, to get them interested, or you walk away. So it's like going fishing. You have to have a hook to get somebody excited. Now, I was coaching a young lady a while ago now, but I still remember the story very powerfully, when she was starting a speech and she used a hook. And she started her speech with, grown men should not be allowed to wear Speedo swimming trunks. Because I was on the beach last year with my dad in Spain and it just looked so wrong in budgie smugglers. What's that got to do with an elevator pitch? Simple. I was wanting to hear the rest of her story. So when you're using a hook in an elevator pitch, it's basically getting somebody engaged. It's getting somebody interested to... You could be interesting to talk to. You might have some pearls of wisdom. You might have some clever connections that I want to get to know. So really think about the hooks of how you get somebody excited and enthusiastic to stay with you. And believe me, using your job title is not one of those things. In the room, there will be around you many other people with a similar or same job title to yours. Now, I know it's easy to pick on accountants, but if you say I'm an accountant, I'm a banker, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach, I'm a biologist, I'm a 17-year-old student who's looking to get into university, you don't stand out in that crowd. We need to make sure that the hook makes you stand out and makes you memorable, because that way I'm now wanting to listen to your next part of the story. One of the things I find with describing elevator pitches is it's actually easy to describe what it is not. And clearly, an elevator pitch is not a sales piece. What do I mean by that? You will not win business as a result immediately of your elevator pitch. And this was put to me beautifully by an American speaker called Robert Middleton. And it refers to the baseball analogy. If you think of having 4 bases in good old baseball, 1, 2, 3, and 4. First base is about getting to interest. Yeah? That's all we're doing. Second base is about getting to intrigue. Third base is about getting into the sales process. And fourth base is cash. Woohoo! Simple. Turn that into your elevator pitch and how that works. It's quite simple. First base to second base is asking questions. That interesting? Tell me more. Because you've got to get the person intrigued where they start engaging and asking you questions. The first 3 bases can take 30 seconds, the elevator pitch. Getting from third base to fourth base into the sales zone can take 3 years. You don't turn up an event and say, I sell widgets, I sell lighting, I sell whatever it is, and walk out with 42 orders. That's not what happens. So with you and your elevator pitch, I really must implore you not to think of this as a sales piece, because a sales piece will just irritate and push people away. And obviously we've already described how we want to push certain people away, but there's other people that you want to make sure you get them close. So don't sell in your elevator pitch. Think of it as a long game. All you're trying to do is gain intrigue and interest and get them excited to have a more in-depth conversation with you. To do that, we need lots of visual language. We want things that sound creative, that people can actually see. The audience that you're talking to, some will be auditory, some will be visual, some will be very touchy-feely. You need to guess. Yeah, that's the right one. You need to gauge the person you're talking to see how that language is going to work for them. What is the best way to engage them? How are they going to listen? The number of times you're talking to somebody and their head's up there, they're looking over your shoulder. Is that because they're looking for somebody else to talk to because they've already decided you're no use to them? Or is it because actually they're very visual and they always visualize over to the top left? So they're not being rude, they're not insulting you, it's just the way they happen to listen. When you go into these events, you've got to make sure you're memorable. Whether you're at a convention, a conference, an exhibition, thousands of business cards get exchanged. Thousands of students turn up at student events. You need to make sure it's memorable. So how you make yourself memorable is another question. You could use props. You could use aids. There are all sorts of different ways of working it. There's a friend of mine who, yes, I did coach him on his speaking skills so he was more powerful and confident. Now he goes out to events with a chicken on his head. This is a guy who sells financial services. And he talks about people chickening out of making decisions. So he has a chicken on his head. You may think that's too extreme. You might not be comfortable with it. For him, it works. He is a very unique character. It does work for him because he's memorable. He stands out. You might want to have banners. You might want to have business cards or pamphlets or brochures. Up to you how you make yourself memorable. But those are props and aids that can back up what you've already started with. So you get the words right, you're not selling, and now you're giving them something to take away. And just a quick one on a business card. I know full well I've been given thousands of business cards. Most people, if I haven't seen them within 3 weeks, they say 6, I don't agree with that. Within 3 weeks of meeting them at an event, I've forgotten who they are. However, if there's a photograph on the business card, if there's something a bit different on that business card, then I'm more likely to remember and recall them for a bit longer. So what are you doing to help reinforce the fact that you had a great conversation and making you memorable for the long term? Props and aids can help. Don't work for everybody, but it can help you putting it together. Other thing to consider in the elevator pitch is whether or not you use humor. Now, John, as I just described with his chicken on his head, is an interesting way of working it. But to be honest, some people are good at humor, some people are not. Practice it. All of this stuff comes back to you practicing it, not winging it, because winging it doesn't work in this world. I want you to practice it. If you're using humor, be careful, because if you're not a natural comedian, then maybe that's not the right way for you. So focus on the ways that you can make a big impact here, being memorable for the right reasons. So far in this course, I've given you lots of tips and ideas, understanding why we have elevator pitches, how we do them, and for what purpose. Now we're getting into the meat of the program, because I want to give you 4 specific processes that you can use to build the right elevator pitch for you and your business. If you go on to Dr. Google or wherever you happen to do your searches, you will find loads and loads of different frameworks that you can use. I've pulled out 4 of the strongest ones I believe that will really help you create the right elements and the right impact with your elevator pitches when you turn up and go to meetings. There's a 4-step, a 6-step, a 5-step, and a 7-step process. I know, it's nice and simple. I want you to take hold of that information and work with it so it makes a really strong impact for you, because those elements are relevant for you. Now, before you can continue with this program, I must insist on one bit of house rules. You need to have a pen, a paper, and be sitting comfortably. This is not a program I want you to just watch and, yeah, maybe I'll remember some of it. This is where it gets interactive with you taking action. So when I start asking questions, I want you to make the stories relevant to you. The stories I will share with you and the examples I will share with you are mine, or they're from clients or suppliers or people I've worked with. You need to make all the elements relevant for you. So get a pen and paper, sit comfortably, and then continue with the program, and we'll move into the first process next.